Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we got the power couple in studio. We've got Quebec's political power couple in studio. We've got smiles on the faces. I'm very excited about this. Joining us in studio right now, Marwah Rizqy. Of course, you know her and love her as a Liberal MNA, and she's the opposition critic on education and higher education. And her husband is Greg Kelley. Oh, look at this. What a coincidence. Liberal MNA as well. Official opposition critic for relations with English-speaking Quebecers. And they decided, hey, both come in today because we have so much to talk about, which things that affect all Quebecers, English speakers, and we're going to just tackle it all at once, right? Yep. Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us on air. It's a pleasure to be back in studio.
I just had an idea. Listen, I'm all about free advice, and this just came to me now, a vision, okay? Now, the Quebec Liberal Party looking for a leader, right? And the only guy who wants it is Denis Coderre, and you guys don't want him, okay? So there's that. And then I know, you're thinking about having a family, and I mean, you have a family, but making the family bigger, second baby on the way. So, maybe, but here's the thought. Quebec Solidaire, they have co-porte-parole. They don't even have leaders. So what about, for the Liberals, you one up Quebec Solidaire. It's not co-porte-parole, whatever thing they've got. It's like the leaders from now on, it has to be a married couple. and you're the lead. It's a co-joint thing.
That's a lot of pressure for our colleagues that it has to be a marriage requirement.
Huh? You got it in the bag if you do it that way. No?
Not happening.
No, I don't think so. Okay. I think we still prefer the one leader who leads them all.
File that under dumb radio host suggestion that has been immediately discounted. Okay, McGill, Concordia. On Friday, they pressed the button for the nuclear option. Go to court. Right? I mean, they say they had no other choice. Basically, they tried as hard as they could, and now they're going to court. Marwah, higher education, tell me your thoughts on this decision.
I checked, and there was no legal precedent before, a university suing the government. So that tells a lot that this is the ultimate decision they have to take. Because if I may go back, let's talk about the history of what happened to Concordia and McGill, and also to University of Bishop. Back in fall 2022, the government, Legault, they asked all the university, French and Anglophone, work in a special committee for the international fees and also for the Canadian students' fees. Everyone worked together, but in April 2023, you know what? We also want to address the French situation. So that was a new thing. Guess what? Both English university, they said, no problem. We're going to work on a plan. And they were supposed to present the plan on October 13, but they received a call from the cabinet of Mrs. Derry saying you have to push back your announcement because we're going to come with our own announcement and you won't like it. Yeah. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And on that day, October 13, Mrs. Derry with Jean-François Roberge with a John press conference saying, we do have a big problem. We hear too much English in Montreal. So to address that situation, we're going to double the tuition fees for Canadians coming here in Quebec, but only to the English universities. And right there, everyone was so in shock. And when I was in law school in University of Sherbrooke, my dean was Sébastien Lebel-Grenier, and today he is the chancellor of University of Bishop. So I spoke with him. He said, this is going to shut down Bishop. So unfortunately, we were able to table a petition in the National Assembly, which has over 30,000 signatures from French and English. And I want to say it because I went down to the street with students and they were talking French and English. We went to Bishop and we had French community standing shoulder to shoulders with the English community. So at least they back away from Bishop. So we were able to save Bishop. But now they're going with McGill and we ask for studies. Where did the $18,000 come from? They had no studies. So we did the comparables with every single bachelor degrees all across Canada. And guess what? The art degrees, even at the University of Toronto, is $6,000. So how come a student will pay $18,000 or even $12,000 when you can have it at Toronto for $6,000?
So, in life, everything is politics in life, everything. Whether it's in the home life or whatever it is, everything is politics. I guess what I want to ask you is, why did they do this, right? Because
it came right after the downfall in Jean Talon. They lost big time. And this is my opinion. I will tell you why. Because I have like a very strong memory. Where were Mr. Éric Girard? On September 27, he was in front of a room full of people from the business area. And he made an amazing, terrific discours. And he said in French, McGill used to be #1 university in Canada, but now it's the University of Toronto. So this is terrible for us. We have to make sure that McGill's come back #1, because if we want to be as good as the Ontarian, McGill has to be #1. That was September 2023.
What a difference.
Just
a couple of weeks, mate.
2 weeks before
2 weeks.
the biggest announcement. And where were Mrs. Derry back in August 2022 during the campaign trail? She was in Bishop University singing in English. We want to attract the English students here. We want to keep them here because they're so valuable. A year later, after Jean Talon, they decided to go back to what they know best, attacking the English community, and that always worked for them.
Greg, the universities say that this change, the tuition hike and the fee and the funding structure change, specifically designed to hurt English institutions. You must hear it from Anglophones all the time. It does seem like the Quebec government now has a hammer that's specifically designed to hit Anglos over the head. What do you was this designed to hurt the to specifically hurt Anglophone institutions?
There's no doubt it was targeting English-speaking institutions, but in their attack, of course, it's not good for the English-speaking community, but McGill and Concordia employ a lot of francophones, allophones, and people in the greater Montreal region, so it hurt a lot of people. And the fact now that these two institutions say, well, we don't know if we're going to be able to add new employees, if we're going to be able to retain everyone. So again, just on that front, two of the most important employers, yes, for the English-speaking community, but for the greater region of Montreal, and you're harming them in a way that does not deliver, quote unquote, the results that they're looking for, which is that there's too much English spoken on the streets of Montreal. And I'm sure, as you know, Elias, we had one of the greatest years for Montreal in terms of tourism last year. So how can you even measure it? How can you measure who is speaking English on the streets of Montreal from being a tourist to a student from another province? But not only that, I can speak English on the streets of Montreal and then walk into a restaurant and speak French when I order my meal, my drink, or whatever it may be. So it is not something that you can measure. It is impossible. So again, this mantra that this decision would reduce the amount of English spoken on the streets of Montreal, it's not measurable. And again, what are we going to start putting criteria on tourists that come here? I mean, you get to that point of that logic, and it makes no sense.
When this decision was announced, my worry was that this would actually impact us in 5 or 10 years. Like, you think about the generation that, you know, the people that come here, they no longer come here, and then they can no longer form those business bonds. What I'm shocked with is how quick we're seeing the ramifications. So, Marwah, on that front, we've heard that McGill has seen their admissions, or the people trying to come here, that's dropped off from the rest of Canada.
20%.
20%. And coincidentally, Queen's University, University of British Columbia have seen huge increases. How damaging and how immediate is the effect here?
We saw, I'll give you a simple example. The music department of McGill, 80% of the students are coming from outside Quebec. They're all coming from Canada. And let's be honest here. You ask a question about, is it directly against the English university? The answer is yes, and I will give you a simple example. ETS, it's an engineering school in French. They tabled a memoir at the National Assembly. They were asking money for what? To help their students to learn French. So we have a French university asking money for their student coming from abroad because they need to learn French. Oh, how come the government didn't go after ETS and say, hey, you're a French university, you should have French students, huh? No, they never talked about that. And for McGill and Concordia, I will say not only it hurts McGill and Concordia, but it hurts all of us because their international reputation of Quebec is hurt. And we have Montréal International, who used to have on the website McGill as the carte d'affaires. So we were showing that McGill was our best university because, let's be honest, internationally is the only one who is ranked in the top 20 all over the world. So we're trying to attract students, not only for McGill, but we're actually using McGill to attract students for University of Montreal, Sherbrooke University. So I don't understand what they were thinking of, except for them to try to gain more traction with the French votes.
To gain track. But here's the thing, and Greg, I'd love you to comment on this. Does seem on this issue, the Anglophone community has more backup from Francophone media and people than we've seen on other issues previously that affected the English community.
Absolutely, because in the end of the day, these institutions might be, from the English-speaking community, but there are a lot of Francophones who have gone to Concordia and McGill. And, I've had the chance to go all across the province, visit, all the different corners of Quebec. There's not many people who don't want their children to be bilingual, no matter where they're coming from. And the universities are an opportunity for people to have that chance to go study in another language. So there are a lot of Francophones who are very proud of McGill and proud of Concordia, proud of bishops and their contribution to Quebec society. And just because you're proud of McGill doesn't mean you're not proud of Université de Montréal or Université de Laval. So I think people saw this as an attack on higher education, and that's not where we want to go as a society. We, like you said, Elias, I still am in a group chat with friends who went to McGill, who now live in London, live in LA, live in New York. And they all said, we wouldn't have gone to McGill. We would never have left Toronto. We would have just stayed there. And they have such a, high, perspective feelings of Montreal. They love the city. They love the culture. They just went elsewhere afterwards. But those links are important because they still do business with people in Montreal. And we're going to cut off those opportunities. And that's extremely frustrating. And I think a lot of Quebecers do not want to see Quebec closed in on itself, but remain an important player on the world stage, to go out there and, yes, make deals with people in New York, LA, London, Chicago, wherever it may be. So this really was, again, attack against all that. And I think, we had a lot of support from French-speaking Quebecers, but it was something that upset Quebecers, just straight down the line. Did not necessarily like this decision from the CAQ.
Greg,
And since Duplessis, this is the first time that we have a government who attacks the knowledge. We should all keep that in mind.
That's a very interesting way of putting it, right? This is an attack on higher learning and knowledge.
Absolutely. And I have to say, because I heard people saying that McGill didn't, the government said that McGill didn't do any effort for the French situation. So maybe they should know that the campus of Outaouais is 100% in French, and it's McGill's run the medical program there. And maybe they should know that they actually send students, Anglophone students, to Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean to learn what? French.
Or do they know? And they don't want to talk about that for their political reasons.
Fact matters.
Pendant des semaines, vous avez parlé du stade. Est-ce que quelqu'un a levé un drapeau rouge en se disant « Hey, notre collègue n'a pas d'études, n'a pas fait aucun comparable, elle sait même pas comment qu'elle va faire pour que Taylor Swift débarque au stade de Montréal. » Comment c'est malaisant que le ministre des Finances, la présidente du Conseil du Trésor refuse de parler. Est-ce que le premier trio ne veut pas répondre parce que visiblement cette annonce n'est pas un coup de circuit?
I don't know, Greg. Seems like Marwah's after my heart, the way she has been on the Big O story. Marwah Rizqy there in the National Assembly, who has been banging the drum on the fact that there's no evidence. There's no evidence to support the numbers being thrown out by the Quebec government on what it would cost to demolish the Big O, and also, the $873 million to fix the darn roof. Continuing with Marwah Rizqy and Greg Kelley. They're both in studio this morning, high-profile positions within the Liberal Party. So, Marwah, can we talk about Big O?
Absolutely. And I grew up next to the Big O in the East End. Like, I was born and raised there.
Yeah.
And my mom, she still live there. So I do understand, why people are so in love, but also I do understand why people are so upset.
And also, as I've been listen, I know one little point of issue. I know you were in the National Assembly. You're like, look at Journal de Montréal and look at their reporting and the examples they give. And I was like, that was me. I did that a week before. They stole my word. Yeah, that's right. So I know it doesn't fly if you say journaliste de CJD. It doesn't work as well as Journal de Montréal. I understand you're in the National Assembly.
Next time I will cite you.
I know. So listen. They don't have, it's magic thin air nonsense on the $2 billion for demolishing the stadium. But it seemed like when they made the announcement, we were just resigned. Oh, we have to accept it. And most of the opposition parties, I most people were saying, all the options suck. This is the best of all the crappy options. And that's what I heard from Quebec Solidaire and the PQ and even from the interim leader of the Liberal Party. Sort of seemed like you were resigned to just accepting it. So why did you say, no, we got to do something here?
So the press conference was on February 5th, and I filed for the Quebec Liberal Party the access of information on February 6th, so the very next day. And I asked for the studies, and I was actually expecting to have tons of studies to support the $2 billion and more to demolish the stadium. And it came back within 10 days, and it was one page on an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
They took a 2003 studies and they just put the inflation rate, and then they put some money, say extra, like $240 million extra. But we don't know what kind of extra, but just put it there. And that was it, $2 billion and more. I'm like, okay, this is not a joke. This is your study. And I'm a tax lawyer, but also like a law professor. And for me, like if any of my students would give me that kind of study, he wouldn't pass my class. So I went back to the National Assembly and we asked, do you have more studies? And she was like, no, we don't want to have any study. That was her answer in Chamber. We don't need study because me, Caroline Priou, I know better than anyone that we don't have any beautiful technology now developed since 2003. That's what she said.
Yeah.
And she said the concrete use is different. Okay. So we don't need study because we're going to go ahead no matter the cost. And she said that. And then we asked for another study. The $1.5 billion, the profit you're going to make if Taylor Swift or the NFL comes here. She said, I don't have that study. She finally admitted after 2 days being questioned in the question period. But let's talk about the concrete example, because I checked. The former Champlain Bridge is the exact same concrete. And guess what? I think there's a river, right? Just below.
Yes.
And I think they built like the new bridge next to it.
Yes.
And for some reason, they were able to demolish the former Champlain Bridge for $240 million. And to recycle all the concrete, the total cost was $400 million. And this is 3.5 kilometers of concrete.
Okay, so let me ask you this. And you said you grew up next to it. You know it's a symbol. What should we do with it?
My personal opinion, first, I want to see the studies, like real studies, because now I'm also questioning the $870 million for just the roof. We're not talking about the ring. We're talking a roof. We can build a stadium for that money. So I'm not even sure they have the right numbers. And then if the numbers are like the comparables, like we saw the Yankee Stadium, the Georgia Dome, they're all below $50 million to demolish. I think we're going to have this serious discussion with all Quebecers, because this is serious money. And we have to keep in mind that we're already having deficit for at least till Mr. Legault said 2030. This is many years of deficit. So right now, we're going to have to pay interest rate again because we spend so much money already on the big O.
Greg, the tourism minister, we tried to get the tourism minister on. They say no. CEO of the Olympic Park, Michel Lebrec, they've said no. Even the PR person, by the way, who was attacking me with memes this morning, okay, who's a good guy. He's passionate. I really like him because he's a passionate guy. They won't come on this show. I'm actually a little bit, annoyed here that often I'll drive into work and I'll know that there's a CAQ minister that'll do the French radio and has refused to come on here. And I'm getting a little tired of that. And I wonder, what are your thoughts here with the sort of stonewalling on talking to people on a subject that I think we should be asking more questions about?
Absolutely. And yet they should come be accountable to the listeners of CJD and to listeners at any point, come on air, come talk about this. And just back to your point, we didn't have a reaction right off the top that went to the point where we are now, where we're harshly questioning the government, because red flags are always now raised when the CAQ announces something, because we learn from the troisième lien. Do you actually have any studies to back up any of this stuff? So we said, you know what? They are putting these numbers out there. Let's go see if there's any, truth and backing to that. And we found out no. So that's why we took our time. We did. But because we wanted to make sure if we were going to go after them, we would put them into a box and into a corner. And I think your question is good, Elias. What do we want to do with the Big O space? Because we're always just left with this option that it's repair it, or not even really consider tearing it down. I'm not too sure. What could we do with it? Why can't we think and be a little bit creative and have some fun with it? I also just want to remind everyone out there, it's not just the stadium for events. There's the training center, the pool, the gym. There's aside of that, that's extremely important for the community. It's well used. It's right next, there's the biodome. Like there is a little ecosystem there of things that are great. But what can we do?
They're not in the ring.
Yeah.
The biodome, the pool, the Olympic pool, because I used to go there, and they're not in the ring. So we have the tower, and then you have the biodome, you have the pool. Yeah. So we can probably...
But why is no one talking... Like, and I've posted
this many times. If we can keep the tower
times.
and see what happened with the stadium.
But why can't someone say that? Like, we can keep the tower, the biodome, the Olympic facilities. Those are separate. Just get rid of that thing that nobody uses.
Exactly. And then turn it into... What could we do with that space? Is it another stadium? Is it a resident? I don't know. Again, but we have to start with the study when it's just demolishing it off the options, and we can't even at least have a proper study done to know, well, that's what it would cost versus repairing the roof. And then we know it's not just the roof, it's going to be the acoustics, it's going to be the seating, it's going to be the foundation, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, and we're going to end up with a massive bill. And at the end of the day, we're going to say, well, maybe we should have thought about demolishing it, And it's like, why are we just cornered into this one decision all the time on the
Because
Big O?
they lied. That's what they happen. When you're not telling the truth, or you're trying to say that you have a study but you don't have a study, is because you're lying to the population. And as an elected official, this is something that has to stop in Quebec. And this is not the first time that we have people going in politics. They say they want a good thing, but then at the end, they take a position, they want to keep it, and they just go ahead and tell big lies to people just because they think they're going to win more votes in the East End, because it's probably more popular in the East End, to say we're going to keep the Big O no matter what the cost is. But guess what? We're all going to pay for the Big O. Everyone, I don't care what's your postal code, you're going to end up not with $872 million for a roof. Trust me, it's going to cost at least $1 billion, because if you can tell me only one project in Quebec that was delivered in time and within the budget, good for you. But I can't.
What would happen if the Liberal Party of Quebec does a press conference, and I don't know if it's you leading the press conference, but somebody does a press conference and says, Liberals, we have a proposal. We will demolish the stadium, and we will build a stadium downtown, or we're gonna build housing at the current site. If you did that and you just came forward with it, we're demolishing the stadium. Do you think it would be a political loser in Quebec? Is that why nobody really wants to broach the subject, because they feel it'll be a loser, whether it's in east end of Montreal or the whole province?
Well, I will talk about myself. I just felt at the beginning adequate, and I had to speak with engineers to understand the concrete and everything, because when you have people in office telling that this is a special concrete and it will cost $2 billion, at the beginning you want to believe them in a good faith. So I turned out and I spoke with an engineer, another one, and they told me, no, we do have example, Marwah, with the Champlain Bridge. That was done recently, and that was the cost, and that was a big project because also of the river. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't have all the data, but now I feel more okay to speak out and to say, listen, we need to pause on the project. Don't put a dime in it right now, because if you start the project, we have to go through. So if they start with the roof, at the end, everyone, whoever's going to be back in the election of 2026, who's going to be in office, because the project will run until 2028, and we're probably going to pay for the next 10 years that project.
And then the big question, let's say we do all that. What are we left with? There's still not a tenant. So it's what gets better after you fix the roof? What situation has improved? I still can't find that either, right?
Not the acoustic, not the seat. You're gonna need lodge, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think Terrace Road is gonna come to the Big O. I think she probably more. There's better chance for her to go to the Oshegas
that's
than
right.
to go there.
Yeah.
And we do have to learn from, the Centre Vidéotron in Quebec, which is beautiful, gorgeous. They do have concerts there. The Q team plays there. I mean, it's not as if it's completely vacant, but it was built with the hopes of bringing back a national hockey team to Quebec City. And we all want it. I would love for Quebec City to get a hockey team back. I think there are chances it actually will happen one day. It's possible. But again, we have to learn that. Are we going to build a stadium? And I know, Elias, the Return of the Expos file way better than I do. I love baseball. I have great memories of going to the Big O with my dad. Every opening game, we would go together in the weekend. But we don't have a team back here. We don't have a guarantee, but we know it would require a new stadium. They're not coming back to play the Big O. But again, public money into that, I don't know. But it's just this kind of feeling cornered into you have to repair the roof and then hope things arrive. I mean, and another thing that I'll just add quickly. We got out of the bid for the World Cup of Soccer, and FIFA probably would have put a lot of that money into repairs if we had gone down that path. We decided not to, and
that's the thing. And now we're
again short-sighted decisions. How is that not brought into consideration.
And they'll have the fun in Toronto and Vancouver instead. I have to leave there. Thank you so much, Marwah Rizqy and Greg Kelley, coming in this morning. I really appreciate it. Come back real soon.
Oh, yes,
Pleasure being
thank
on.
you.